Welcome back, everyone who is currently enrolled in a geospatial science technical class. We're dealing with a little bit of a challenging time right now, so I wanted to produce a supplemental video that is going to show you guys how to log into the virtual PC that we have devoted to those technical classes. Now, there may be a secondary virtual PC option that is coming out, but if so, I will keep you guys posted on that. But for now, this is our immediate solution. So the virtual PC is basically a browser-based computer. So it's going to work if you have a Mac, or it's going to work if you have a Windows machine. It also works on Linux machines, but I suspect most of you aren't running a Linux box. So let's walk through the process here of how to install the virtual PC client, then connect to it, and then open up software, and then lastly download and access your files. So what your professors have done is included a new link in the menu bar area that says virtual PC. So when you log into D2L, you should see a button that basically is going to link or connect to the virtual PC. And if we click on virtual PC, it's going to ask us to log in to the VMware basically portal. So you will use your Radford University credentials and then log in. Now, if this is your first time installing the virtual machine, what you're going to have to do is go to Download Clients. And it's going to ask you to download the PCOIP View client. So you'll click on that link, and then it will take you to a downloads page where you have access to different types of clients. And so notice we have a VM Horizon client for Windows. We also have a VM Horizon client for Mac. And so to access that, what you're going to do is go click on the Go to Downloads button, and then it's going to ask you to select a version. And this is important really primarily for the Mac users because some Mac versions only work with certain VM client versions. So if it doesn't work correctly the first time, you'll want to go in and select the appropriate version, and you can read the release notes to basically see what it is compatible with. So what you'll do is you'll go in once you've picked the right version for the right operating system, and you'll click download. Okay, so once you've downloaded the client, you're going to want to go ahead and install that client. And what that's going to do is basically put a little desktop shortcut here where you can access the client. So you can double click that and then log in with your Radford credentials to open up the virtual PC, or you can continue through the browser and access the virtual PC just like we were doing when we were downloading the client. So you'll click on virtual PC again, but now we click desktop and then open VM Horizon client. And it's going to go through the connection process. Now, sometimes this takes a minute, but once it's connected, it's a pretty seamless operation. Now, while that's connecting, I will mention, there we go. Hit OK. And the first time that you log in, it's going to ask for your credentials, but I've logged in before, so I didn't have to this particular time. And what you're going to see is that you get this. Went to my other screen. Is you get this window that basically has everything we need to finish completing the classes. And because I have a bunch of screens, I have to do a little bit of an adjustment here, just so that you guys can see it correctly. But basically, it lives within a window, and you can maximize or minimize it so that it can take up the whole screen. But what we'll see is that we have a pretty blank, empty desktop. And this is because your profile is recycled every time you log off. So what that means is it's a very clean version, and you cannot save directly to the C drive, but we'll get into that just a little bit later. So to access the programs that we need, what you're going to do is you're going to click the Start menu. And you'll notice that the Start menu looks rather lean, and this has to do with some of the profile settings. So all you really see is ArcGIS Pro. So if you want to access Arcmap, ArcCatalog, ArcScene, or any of the others, you click on the Start menu and you type in Arcmap. And that will pull up the link to open up Arcmap. And the network's being a little slow because everyone's preparing for online, but that should smooth out once we get back in the swing of things. So while Arcmap is loading, I'm also going to do the same for Pro. So we would go over here and type in ArcGIS Pro. And then we can see the link to that. And I can click on that to fire up Pro. Now, here we're looking at Arcmap, and it should look, just like any other Arcmap that you guys work with. So the operation and the functionality is all the same. I'm going to get rid of that just for the moment. Well, we'll just go ahead and log into Pro, so that goes away. Remember, you still need to use your enterprise login. So to get to Pro, you type in ru-geospatial and then continue. And you use the ArcGIS login, which is your ArcGIS online account that is connected to our organization. Okay, so now we'll go back to Arcmap. Now, all of the same workflows you're going to follow here, except for one. And that one change is that you're going to want to be working out of your H drive so that you have all of the data stored in a permanent place. So when we start up a new map document and we define our default geodatabase, it's important that you browse out to your H drive. Obviously, first we'll have to make a folder connection, and it will give us an error because it doesn't want us to go to the C drive. So you'll hit this PC and you'll select your H drive. And you might want to make a new folder called something like, I don't know, GIS. Or we'll just go with new folder for this video. And now that we're in that new folder, it wants us to make a new default geodatabase. So we'll hit New File Geodatabase. And again, the first time you do this, it will take a little bit of time, but in the future, you'll just reference that default geodatabase every time you open up Arcmap. So we've made a new file geodatabase. We'll call it demo. And then we'll hit add and then OK. And so that will set up our basically home directory to that default geodatabase. Okay, so that basically creates a new default geodatabase. Now when we go into our folder connections, we can now see that we have a connection to the H drive. And remember, when we're properly naming stuff, we don't use any spaces. And if we look in there, we have our demo geodatabase. So this is where we're going to want to store all of our stuff, is in that H drive. And if you want to connect to the root of your H drive, you just hit add folder connection, go to this PC, and then you select H drive. Now I have access to everything in my H drive. And here's what's really important, is when you download data from D2L, we want to save it to our H drive as well. In addition to that, if you're running an executable that's going to install some data on the computer, you want to direct that to your H drive as well. Now, the same workflow is going to hold true in Pro and also QGIS, where you're going to want to direct everything into this particular H drive. Okay, very, very important. All right, so now that we know how we can open up Arcmap and also ArcGIS Pro, you should be good to go. Remember, you can install QGIS on any sort of computer, and it does not exist on these virtual PCs, so you'll want to do your own custom install, which we'll have videos for that as well. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to look at how to change where we download data to, because we want to download it to our H drive so we have access to it. So if we go into Chrome and we click on these three little buttons over here, we can go down to Settings. And if we go into Settings and we go to Advanced and we go to Downloads, we will see that there's a location, and the default location is C users AFOI downloads. What we want to do is change that, and again it's going to give us an error because we can't access the C drive. And we'll go to this PC and we'll select our H drive, and by default anything that we download will go there. But for that to work properly, we have to close Chrome and then reopen it, and now that will be saved in the profile. And if you want to access your downloads, you can simply open up My Computer, go to your H drive, and then you have access to all that information that you need. Now, in addition to being able to access your H drive, you also have access to the PC's hard drive that you are working on from home. So here you can see there's a link to AFOI on, and this is my computer name. And if I expand that, it's going to go out and read basically my C drive. So what that means is I can copy files from my personal computer over to the H drive or wherever else you want to actually use it. Now the challenge here is that you don't want to be running processes that are grabbing data from your PC and trying to communicate over the network to work on the virtual PC, because that's too much bandwidth. So really you only want to use that for copying and pasting. For example, maybe you downloaded some files on D2L to your personal machine. You want to copy those over to your H drive so you can use it on the virtual machine. This is basically your option. So just to recap here, you install that virtual PC. In addition to this video that helps you, if you go back into the course content, you will see that there's going to be some help documentation. And so I'll just show you an example of what that looks like here. In my course, it'll be in a different location based on who your professor is. But for my 250 folks, this is all the same. You go to preparing for the activity, and we can see that we have instructions on installing the virtual PC, and then more detailed instructions for the Mac or the PC. So if you click on one of those links, it's going to take you out to IT support with very detailed instructions on how to get that to work with your particular computer. So make sure to use those if you need additional help. Now, the virtual PC is going to be the quickest solution, but there may be some performance challenges. So if you have a Windows-based PC, you can also install ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS Desktop on that, and then leverage our licenses through either the VPN or through the RU organizational account login. Now, I have some generic videos already created for those, so these will be linked in this help documentation as well. So we know this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for some people, but if you've been through 250, you already know this process. This is just going to kind of reinforce what needs to be done so that we can have a successful end of the semester. So I hope this helps, and please feel free to reach out to either me, Dr. Maxwell, Dr. Minyara, or Dr. Mitchell if you're having difficulties accessing the software, because we want to fix this ASAP. So hope to hear from you guys virtually, and let's make the best of this semester.